Shalom, shalom, and Boker Tov. Good morning, and welcome to the Ways of Israel. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel. This morning we're going to briefly go into chapter 13 of Sefer Ikkarim as we explore, or rather the Rabbi Joseph Albo explores the idea if the divine law can change. Once given, can it be changed? Can it be a new law, as it were? So we're going to take a look at what he talks about in this aspect, since he is responding to a lot of what he was having to deal with in his time, which had to do with the Christian argument that there is a change in law, as it were. So let's take a look exactly what he says and just delve right into Sefer Ikkarim, book number 3, chapter 13. Now we do desire now to investigate whether it is possible that a given law of a given people should change in time, or whether it can change but must be eternal. It would seem that the divine law cannot change for a reason based upon the consideration of the giver, of the recipient in the law itself. Considering the giver, it would seem inconceivable for God, who is the giver, should desire one thing at one time and then change his will and desire the opposite or its opposite at another time. It cannot be that God should desire right at one time and then wrong at another. Why then should God change his law for another? Considering the recipient, we can not see why, since the nation is the same, the law should change in the course of time. We cannot use the analogy of the individual and say that just as the rule of health for a child are different from those of a young man, those of the young man are different from those of the old man. As time changes from childhood to youth, and from youth to old age, so the rules of an old man at the same time changes from youth from childhood to youth, and from youth to old age. So the rules of divine law must change with time. For while it may be true in the case of an individual that his behavior is bound to change as the period of his life changes, the rule does not apply to a political group in that which there is no change from childhood to youth and to old age to convention. And thus we have this question: for the convention of law is that all times are the same. Hence we cannot see the divine law should change by reason of the recipient. Now if we consider that the law itself, it would seem that this purpose of divine Torah is to teach men intellectual conception and true opinions, that there can be no reason for its changing at the time, for the true opinion can never change. Monotheism cannot be true at one time, and dualism and Trinitarianism as another. Any more than it's possible that a thing that has already been should change and have been. It seems clear, therefore, that there can be no change in a divine law, whether we consider the law itself the giver or the recipient. Nevertheless, if we consider the matter carefully, and we shall find that it does not follow that the divine law cannot be changed for one and the same people. For though the ideas themselves do not change, nor the giver, a change may occur on the part of the recipient. A perfect agent does his work in a manner corresponding to the preparation of the recipient. As the change, the work of the agent, no doubt, not does this imply that any change in the agent or physician prescribed a certain regimen to his patient for terms known to himself, which he does not reveal to the patient. When the time passes, the patient gets better. The physician changes his regimen and allows when he is prohibited before and foods that were formerly permitted. And thus the patient has no reason to wonder at this, for it does not imply any change in the physician's original intention or imperfection in the physician, because he did not in fact prescribe the regimen good for all times. When the physician prescribed the first regimen, he knew the length of time the patient would have to conform to it, And though it did not say anything to the patient, he knew that when the regimen would have changed, estimating that as he did from the condition of the patient. The time required to pass from disease to health. When he prescribed the first regimen, his purpose was to improve the condition of the patient so that he might be ready and prepared to follow the second regimen. Second, which was to come after its work, and that it has not been done for the first. And when the time came, he changed the first regimen for another which he had in mind the first. The same way, it argues that no defect in God if he did not give the beginning of a law, the regimen that would suffice of all times. For he would then give the Torah. He knew that the law would suffice for the time which he in his wisdom he estimated would be required to prepare the recipients and improve their condition so as to fit them in to receive the second regimen, though he did not reveal the purpose of his to any one. When the time comes, his second regimen, which would may contain rules different from and opposed to the first, but it was in his mind from the very beginning. In other words, they were already present by the giving of the law. On the contrary, as it would show a defect in the physician if he prescribed solid and substantial food like bread and meat and wine for the convalescence in children and the infants before they grow up or are strong enough to stand for such food. So it would argue to a defect in the giver of the Torah if he gave the same law for all times to novice and to habituate. The proper thing is to change it according to the change of the capacity of the recipient. As soon as they are accustomed to a certain regimen, he then can advance them to a more difficult and more suitable than their nature, like the bread and the meat and the wine and other substantial foods which are unsuitable for children, are proper for adults. And the children, as they grow, become accustomed to solid foods in their change of mode of substance. The teacher treats his pupil in a similar manner. First he trains him in a manner easy to understand until he gets accustomed to the study little by little. Then he advances him to a more difficult and more profound plane for which he was not fit at all at the beginning before he became accustomed to study. And the object that is not fitting to suppose that God's power is so limited that he cannot prescribe a rule of conduct that will embrace all of man, young and old alike. For all times his objection would be analogous to the question that is asked, why did God create all men righteous and eager to worship him, so that there would not be one crooked one among them, assuming that this would show perfection? The fact is not so. Maimonides has shown touching this similar matters in the 32nd chapter of the third part of the Guide of Perplexed. We do not say that perfection would require that God have created all animals with reason to praise him, because it would be contrary to nature. Similarly, we do not say that it would be a credit to God if all agreed that nature is precious to God and that he does not change except when it's absolutely necessary. We are here therefore discussing this subject as reason demands it and the study of the Torah requires and suggests it. Anyone who chooses may disagree and insist that God constantly creates miracles in opposition to nature. When the rabbis say that the Torah is a panacea and a drug that gives life to all, they mean that all the organs of the body. Similarly, when they say the words of the Torah are a salve for the eye, an enrollment for the heart, a medicine for the bowel, as it said, health for all thy flesh. But they do not say that the same for all men and women and children for all the time. The truth of our statement will be made clear in the following chapter that we will take a look at in our next video. And here we go, Rabbi Abel goes in to investigate the divine laws of the world, and we find that they change from time to time, forbidding that was originally permitted, and then again permitting what was forbidden. And so we're going to look at this dynamic that he talks about. Beginning from Adam, all the way to our present time. So stay tuned for our next video, which will deal with the changes that were made in time. For example, what was required from Adam was not required from Noah. What was required from Noah was not required from Abraham, and vice versa. And it continues in the succession to this day. And so you can say that there are more laws on the divine books to be able to perfect man, and thus different, you might say, covenant. We're going to take a look at that in our next video, so stay tuned. Shalom, shalom. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel. And make sure you be part of Ways of Israel. You can join very easily just by downloading our application online and filling it out, sending it to us, and also supporting what we're doing. Right below you have a couple of links you can press and donate whatever amount you can to help us, and we would appreciate that. As we are now heading toward the end of the month, as you know, towards the end of the month it always starts getting tight, and we need your help and support. So be part of the Ways of Israel. May God bless you and strengthen you in everything that you do, and may God bless you, bless your week today with health and wealth. Shalom.